Elizabeth Hudson is exhausted, but she's kind of happy, certainly very relieved. Elizabeth has been tirelessly campaigning on this programme against the early release of her violent ex-husband, who was given the green light to walk free from prison as part of the government's scheme to reduce overcrowding. But she's won. Now, yes, the Ministry of Justice has admitted a clerical error and assured Elizabeth he's not eligible for early release. She's here. We're going to talk to her directly in a moment, what it was like to read that after all that hard work and fear. But let's just remind ourselves, shall we, of her story.
I had no pre-warning. I mean, I'd heard the statements from the government that domestic abusers weren't going to be eligible for this. So I was kind of safe in my little bubble that I didn't have to think about it until next September. And then early September, I got this letter, and yeah, it just blew everything apart again. You've got
a little bit of light is shining into this now, a little bit clearer. This awful man isn't going to be released at Christmas after all, and it'll be June. Does that make you feel a bit better?
Clearly, there's some relief around that. Absolutely, totally feel vindicated in a way that I've been listened to. However, there's still so much fog around this policy. He's still eligible for a 3 months reprieve on his sentence under the SDS 40 scheme. No, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible, and I feel incredibly let down by all of the systems that are supposed to protect us.
Well, as you can see, Elizabeth joins us now. I mean, absolutely well done. What did you feel when you saw that admission and you realised you'd won this stage, at least?
Lots of relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, although clearly still incredibly frustrated that I had to do all this. It shouldn't have been necessary at all. If things worked properly, none of this would have happened.
Because you've had to live and relive, and just tell us what it's been like fighting this for you, the impact of that.
Oh, well, for me, for my family, for my friends, it's taken over everything. It's been really hard, frustrating.
Frightening in a way.
Frightening, sent me back in terms of kind of my recovery. I've had days where it's been a struggle to get out of bed. Yeah, it's been tough, really tough.
So what was this stupid clerical error that caused all this grief you've been going through for months now, starting off with a letter telling you that he was getting out early, and you went, what? That can't be right. That can't... And that's how it all started. What was this paperwork glitch?
It defies belief, really. Basically, when they wrote down the court warrant at sentencing, they got consecutive and concurrent the wrong way around. So they logged...
didn't know the difference between consecutive and concurrent?
They've just written it in the wrong box, I don't know, but they got it wrong. So for the Ministry of Justice, on their system, he was currently, right now, serving a sentence for ABH, which is eligible for early release. However, I knew all along that wasn't the case. What he's actually serving a sentence for right now is non-fatal suffocation and strangulation.
You knew that?
I knew that from day one. Which is exempt. So I knew he should have been exempt, but no one listened to me. And I had to go through this horrible, long process to kind of fight for it. And the only thing that finally got the MOJ to realise what was going on was the fact that a journalist had got hold of a copy of the sentencing remarks from the judge, and it was that was there in black and white that showed what the judge had actually intended. Without those, he would have been
getting out early.
Incorrectly being released early, yeah.
What does this mean, do you think, and hope, I'm assuming, for others as well? Because your case is very particular, it's very black and white, but there will be many other versions of this, won't there, which people who might not have your presence of mind, your guts, your spirit, will be living with receiving that letter and not able to do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, the Justice Secretary assured me that they've been through the whole system and they've... I'm very special. They've not found another error like mine. However, obviously, the bigger picture is that domestic abusers are still being released early. Those that have committed offences that are not exempt are being released, victims are in fear, victims are dealing with all kinds of trauma around that. So while this is great for me personally, it doesn't solve the bigger challenges with the policy.
What would, do you think, what would be the change that would help?
Well, I came on here, didn't I, with Josh Bobberinde, and that's the answer. We need domestic abuse laws.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So, because, just to be clear, the assault and the threats that he made on you, which were horrible, I mean, and extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
He was threatening to make your children orphans, all of that. He throttled you. As I said to the minister involved at the time in that first interview, if that isn't domestic abuse, I'm an onion. I mean, it was just incredible that couldn't be defined as domestic abuse, and that's still the issue.
Yeah.
That's still the issue. These guys can assault their partners, and yet they are not treated as domestic abusers.
And it raises all kinds of other issues that have come to light since we've started talking about this. The fact is that we don't have robust data on how many domestic abusers we have in prison. We don't have proper reoffending rates. We have pockets of information, but we don't have really useful data that could actually help the government tackle this massive epidemic of violence against women and girls.
You've won this incredibly important victory. It's a victory for you personally, and as you say, Kate, it's a broader victory for other women. And as you say, it's come at a cost. It's been exhausting for you, but all that's over now. Looking back, are you, in a way, sort of glad that it happened to you because it allowed you to make a difference? It gave you an opportunity to make a difference?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
I don't mean the assault, I mean the mistake.
Do I wish it hadn't have happened? I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to highlight this challenge for everybody else. Yeah, I am. Would I have liked to have still been, as I said, in my little bubble of peace and quiet? Absolutely, yeah.
I bet,
Yeah, of course. It shouldn't have been necessary. And what will this mean for you? Can you get back to healing, you know, or are you going to continue to fight?
There's so much that needs fixing. This is one element of a system that is struggling to properly deal with domestic abuse and support victims. There's a lot of things that need to change, so I think there's still quite a lot of work to do.
Well, we are delighted that if in any small way we were able to help you in your campaign.
Absolutely.
I have to say, I never doubted that you'd win because, well, I never did. A, because of you and your character and the person you are. You're so determined, you're so stubborn. But also...
Northern, that's what that is.
Yeah, well...
Northern stubbornness.
But also, frankly, because you were right. Because it was so obvious that your argument was completely justified. And
but isn't it wonderful that right wins out? And that's
it doesn't happen
testimony.
enough, does it?
No.
No.
Well, look, congratulations. Sorry that you had to go through it, but good to speak to you and keep talking to us about all the other factors you're fighting for.
Thank you.
Well, we have to say that tonight a documentary is going to be delving deeper into the UK's overcrowded and deteriorating prison system. That's another whole issue. And it follows journalist Jacob Dunn, who has served time behind bars. And you share your story with him. So let's have a quick look at that.
They've played fast and loose with our security, with our well-being, with our safety, and it's just not good enough. We're the ones who are suffering, we're the ones who are trying to put the pieces back together of our broken lives.
OK, and that documentary goes out tonight at 8:30 on ITV1 and ITVX.